Hello, Mr. Johnston here. In this video, I'm going to do two things. One, review the key information for your upcoming CER. And two, give instructions on how you are going to complete your CER and also finish class today. So I'll start by sharing my screen so you can see today's goal. This, of course, is also written on the whiteboard. Your goal today is just one thing: to demonstrate your understanding of the processes that led to unevenly distributed resources. When we use the word processes, you can also think of causes, or why are resources unevenly distributed. So to accomplish that goal, we are going to do a few things. First, review, then you will take your CER, and to finish class today, you are going to preview the next section, which is also the very, very last section of 7th grade science, if you can believe we're already there. So to review, there are four natural resources we have covered and you all have taken notes on. At this point, make sure you have your notes. That's the folded paper. I can show you an example. It looks something like this. You wrote about minerals, soil, water, and fossil fuels. If you do not have those notes out, please take them out now. Feel free to pause this video while everyone gets their materials. Okay, hopefully now you have your materials where you have notes on minerals, soil, water, and fossil fuels. I'm going to show you two things for each of these categories. First, a map, which shows the distribution of these resources. Where are the resources and where are they not? Second, for each of these resources, I'm going to give you a key idea or a key note, which, if you're thinking, may be a good thing to write down. You could even pause the video to write this information down. If you get what I'm saying, let's continue. Starting with water. Here in this map, we have different aquifers or underground water sources in the United States. Now, they're color-coded to show regions. All that we need to know is these colors shown on the key are big aquifers. Here is the one we saw in class. A reminder, an aquifer is just an underground water resource, so water that is stored in the rock underground. Now, we can see that not every place in these white areas, there is not underground water. There are not aquifers. Take a moment to think, why would there be water underground in some places, but not in other places? This is the key idea today. Why are there resources in some places, but not others? Why are resources unevenly distributed? A key idea that you may want to write down. You could write this down. If you want to pause the video, you could write this down. Would be for water. Rainfall and the porosity of rock influence the distribution of water. Rainfall is, of course, the precipitation that's falling from the sky. If there's more rain, we could have more groundwater. The porosity of rock just means the pores, or the little spaces and openings in the rock underground that can hold water. If the rock underground has lots of pores, has a high porosity, it could lead to aquifers or better underground storage of water. If there is not porosity, if there are few or no pores in the rock, there could be all sorts of rain, but it cannot be stored. Again, a key idea for water is that rainfall and the porosity of rock influence the distribution of water. Hopefully, we have that key idea. Next, minerals. There are some details here, so stay with me. If you cannot see, the copper deposits are represented with these small orange dots. You can see them all over the map, especially in mountainous regions. The black lines represent plate boundaries, or in other words, where tectonic plates come together or slide apart. In our reading last week, we talked about subduction zones. A subduction zone is when one tectonic plate slides under another. When this happens, there is a very, very high temperature and a very, very high pressure. These conditions are necessary to form some minerals, like copper. So you may notice that lots of copper deposits are near tectonic plate boundaries. So a key idea could be tectonic plate movements influence mineral formation and distribution. The minerals, copper in this case, are found near tectonic plate boundaries, but these areas that are far away from tectonic plates have few or no copper deposits. To repeat, tectonic plate movements influence mineral formation and distribution. This is an important idea. You may want to write down this idea. If you need to pause the video to write this idea on your notes, be my guest. Let's continue to soil. Soil is another one of the natural resources we talked about. It may be difficult to see on this video because I'm not sure how big this text will be. There are different categories of soil. Scientists study the traits and characteristics and put soil into different groups. You do not need to know these types of soils. All you need to know is that soil is different depending on your location. This we have already talked about. Now, if you're unsure on this idea, just think for a moment. The soil outside of our classroom window, is that the same soil that exists in a desert? Is desert soil the same kind of soil that exists in a tropical rainforest? Is the soil in a tropical rainforest the same soil you'll see at the bottom of the ocean? No, all of those are different, okay? Here we can see in the United States, different colors represent different types of soil. A key idea when we're talking about soil or processes, causes that can influence soil distribution are parent material. Soil is formed by rock breaking down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces. There are different kinds of rocks, so parent material can influence the kind of soil you have. Second is climate. Climate, among other things, includes the average temperature and average amount of rainfall in a place. Areas that have high temperatures and high rainfall will have different soil characteristics than places that are cold or dry. Next, organic material. Organic material means plants and animals, when they die and they become part of the soil, that can influence soil characteristics. If there is more organic matter, so decomposing plants and animals, that soil is rich in nutrients and is very different from a soil that doesn't have that organic matter. Finally, the amount of time soil has to form will influence the type of soil you have. For example, in an area where soil is just beginning to form, you might expect larger pieces of rock. In contrast, areas that have had long times to form might have very fine soil that might be so small you can't even find rock pieces. Each of these characteristics, parent material, climate, organic material, and time, will influence the type of soil you have and how it is distributed. What areas have that soil and what areas do not. Hopefully you understand this information I have written is important and could be helpful on your CER. At this point, if you need to pause the video, please do that. Great. Hopefully you all have the soil information and are ready for the last resource, fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are different natural resources that we can burn for energy. For example, this map of the United States shows the distribution of coal reserves. Coal is a fossil fuel that we can burn for energy. The dark areas represent where coal is found. The light areas represent where coal is not found. In addition to coal, oil, natural gas, or other types of fossil fuels, excuse me. Our final key idea, feel free to pause. Here is your explanation. Specific conditions like time, the amount of pressure, the temperature, and the type of organic material, so the type of plant or animal that's decomposing, will influence the formation of and distribution of fossil fuels. Let's go back to the map. Right here, the Appalachian region, close to where I grew up right here, in case you're wondering. There are specific organic material, types of plants and animals that was trapped under rock layers. That trapped organic material existed at the right temperature, at the right pressure, for the right amount of time for coal to form. In other areas, there may have been the right organic material, but maybe the temperature was off, so there is no coal. Or maybe there wasn't enough pressure, so there is no coal. The formation of this resource depended on specific conditions. These specific conditions influence the distribution of fossil fuel. All right, that is a review for you. Now, at this point, you should have detailed notes. Remember, you only get the one paper of notes as a resource during your CER. Now I'm giving you instructions for your CER first and then the rest of class. The video is almost over. I appreciate your attention. During your CER, like always, you should work silently. This is an independent assignment and the instructions on the screen will say that. Second, I expect you to be calm. You do not need to scream or run or catch on fire to successfully complete your CER. Finally, something you will use in addition to your notes, you will get a map. The same maps that I just showed you that outline the distribution of resources. These maps are a resource you can and should use for evidence on your CER. Finally, when your name is on your page, you have answered every section with details and you are ready to turn in your assignment. You will calmly and silently turn in your CER to the basket under this screen. There's a little sticky note or an index card that shows what basket to place your CER in. And second, you will return your map to the basket with a label under this screen. Please do not write on the maps because we're going to use the same maps in every class. So if you're making notes, you're just giving away answers to somebody else, and that's not what we're going to do. Those are your CER instructions. As you will see on the slide, your end of class instructions are go to Canvas and under the CER post, that's for people who are absent, there are two things. First, there is a preview reading of our final section of 7th grade science. Read that and respond in Canvas to the 5 questions. That is graded. Second, I have a resource posted from NASA. The NASA resource is just something for you to explore. It will be kind of like a preview of what we're doing for the rest of the year as well. It talks about changes on planet Earth over time. It's a climate time machine. Finally, this is the end of the video. Work calmly, do your best. If you have questions, raise your hand. That's all I've got. I will see you later. Please be safe and please be kind.